to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is our February 13th, 2017 Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. We'll have our invocation and pledge the flag by Vice Mayor Brown.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all of our many blessings that they have given us from day to day. Help us to do the best job we can do to take care of as many people as we can for as long as we can. Help us to make the city grow and be the best that it can be. And help us to be patient and kind as we go and do our work. Take care of all of our citizens and keep us in love. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Campbell,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
She's in transit.
Commissioner Borum,
Present.
County Commissioner Stillwell.
She's not here. She may not be feeling well.
Mr. Sam Deputy here.
Okay. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from the December 12th meeting, 2016, and the workshop from January 5th, 2017?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. And now move on to public comment. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. No action will be taken on any issues that are brought before the agency at this time. Is there anyone here for public comment? We would just ask that once you finish, we'll have you go ahead and fill out a speaker card before you leave at the end, so we'll have a record of it. But go ahead and come up and just give your name and address.
I am Brad Kay with Hogwash Barbecue Joint,
And Corey came with my boss for
and we just want to come tonight and thank everybody. Let everybody know we have an awesome weekend we had here in Palatka, in beautiful downtown Palatka. We've had an amazing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for lunch and dinner. My wife knows all the numbers, and evidently everybody's been talking about brisket and ribs, because I've never cooked as much brisket and ribs in my life. Everybody coming in loves the building, they love the looks of it, and we can't wait to get to work on it. I'm sorry about the attire, but we are working on it tonight. So, I just wanted to introduce ourselves to everybody. I know Rufus has been begging us to come up here to Palatka for a long time, we have also, and we are grateful. I know my wife does have some numbers, some table numbers and whatnot. They were amazing.
Well, this weekend we had just slightly under 660 tickets, which is not the number of guests. You can multiply that by probably 3 over 4 days. It's a lot of people coming through our doors. And that's not even with our back patio open yet. We don't have that part open, and barely any people were going into our bar where we were serving beer and wine. So we have a lot of people that are coming in just to eat. Granted, I know it's new, and I know there are a lot of first-time customers, but we have a lot of repeat people who are coming up from Palatka now to see us. And we have a lot of people from St. Augustine area, Jacksonville, Orlando, that are coming into Palatka now to see us as well. So we're trying to bring in a lot of new business into Palatka, and we really, really want to see downtown Palatka be restored to its former glory, and see some new businesses come in there and see if we can build it up. And we're trying to work at that for you guys.
Thank you all.
Well, we definitely want to welcome these guys into town, and we want to thank you for saving us the drive. So, but again, if we can, just give a round of applause for our new. Yeah, something you want to say?
No, I just love that place. The sides are as good as the barbecue.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we definitely thank you. I know it's been a whole bunch of hitting around to you to come to Palatka. We're definitely glad that you made the decision to be here. And if you haven't tried it, you need to try it because the food is awesome. now that we're moving away from my favorite topic, if you guys can just for me, if someone, maybe Mr. Griffith, if you can show them how to fill out the speaker card, so we'll have a record of that. We'll move on to our regular agenda. Item number 1 is potable water lines replacement project. Staff request for direction. Mr. Griffith.
I don't mind going, Mayor, but I think...
Give me 1 second, I forgot.
Yeah.
Can we, before we do that, we've got one request to take it out of order. I want to go ahead and take SBDC's report out of order.
I want to thank you very much. And I know
I was trying to keep you here all night.
I saw you were busting me on that. The reason I have to leave early is because I'm in a band, and the band can't practice with all its members, and that's at 7 o'clock in Orange Park, so I appreciate that.
So that
I'm
means,
not hiding anything, there's not a sickness in the family or anything like that.
so we get the band now.
Yeah, you get a band now. You're getting everything else, you might as well have a band.
Just tell me you don't play
Do
the
you have a
cymbals or
copy of
something.
this?
No, sir.
Okay, may I give you one?
Absolutely.
What do you play?
Harmonica, guitar, and vocals.
We wanna invite you to our mayor's reception.
My band will play anything.
I didn't say
That's my end, right?
I'm inviting you to our reception so that you know that we have one.
I like that.
The mayor's reception
So,
is,
to introduce myself, I'm Kevin Murphy. I work for the Florida Small Business Development Network. Many of you probably know Cheryl Lynch, who is our full-time employee here, who has an office at the Chamber of Commerce. And this report is really all about her. She wasn't able to make it tonight, so I'm filling in for her. She works for me. I'm really happy about the work that she's been able to do in partnership with you in Palatka. So as we look at the numbers here, year-to-date 2016, completion of last year, she, on her own, has worked with 229 entrepreneurs last year. We just heard from the restaurant. And if she hasn't gotten to you yet, it's only a matter of time, right? There's nowhere to run.
Probably.
Right. 925 consulting hours. That's an individual hour, one-on-one, with those 229 businesses, which is really great. Good numbers. She's gotten into a little more instruction. She's been doing a lot of workshops and events. You can see that number's up to 17 now. Recently, we partnered with the Palatka Housing Authority to offer a series of courses for people who are starting businesses. And once those people are stable, the Palatka Housing Authority is going to give them contracts, vendor contracts, to work, on their properties and things like that. So it could be anything from lawn mowing to power washing to anything. And I think that helps everybody. We're giving the work to people who are here. So we're very excited about that as well. 29 jobs created, retained, 8 business startups, not easy starting a business. Loans received, 1.8 million, and capital investment, it looks like it's down, but it's very hard to track. People have to tell us that they invested capital in their business. That's one of the hardest things that we can track. So when they tell us they did, we record it. But everything else is exactly as it happened. So we're very excited about this partnership. Cheryl, of all of our staff, is probably one of the most productive and successful of all of them. So we're excited to have her here in Palatka. Any questions?
No, sir. None from me. Is there anything from the agency? We thank you.
We sure am happy about our relationship and your supporting what we're doing here. We're really trying to help Palatka out, and I've seen the progress. I've talked to the businesses, and it's just great. I love coming down here.
And we definitely think it's an interesting time right now. We're starting to see more businesses come in, particularly restaurants into the downtown area.
Yes.
And we're looking for more great things to come in the future. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for letting me go first. Take care.
Back to item number 1 on the agenda, portable water line replacement project. Mr. Griffith.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I believe in your packets, it was sent out afterwards, you'll see a TIF potable project debt estimate spreadsheet accompanied by a phasing map. Can you pull that spreadsheet up, please? workshop in January, we were given some direction to basically refine our estimates for the potable replacement in the entire C.R.A., all 3 districts. So what we did is we went back and we validated our unit cost estimates, and before you is the actual cost for replacement. In between all districts, it's approximately $4.8 million. Mr. Reynolds, if you could you go over how we arrived at the debt estimate?
So these are basically the same numbers that we were kind of discussing at the workshop. This first column that says 2007 TIF revenues, these are the amounts that are received in each of the 3 districts. And kind of as we discussed at the workshop, Jonathan and I just took 30% of the revenue, annual revenue, and you can see that in the second column there, 30% of 2017 revenue. What that results in is of the total funding of the $95,000 from the 3 different funds, if we break those down into each district, that means that 66.5% of the total amount that we would get from, say, doing a loan issuance would need to be spent in the central district, 22.83% would need to be spent in the south, and 10.67% spent in the north. And so, also looking at the total amount of debt we could get, we reran the numbers using a 0% interest because at the end of the workshop, Jonathan and I kind of bounced around the idea that we could go after DEP, SRF, state revolving fund loan monies, and because of the socioeconomic status of the city, I think we qualify for a 0% interest rate with the SRF funding. So that is 20-year funding. Again, looking at if we had annual debt service of $95,305 approximately over 20 years, we could get a lump sum amount of almost $2 million, that's 1.934. Jonathan, of course, already went over the construction estimate of the 4.8 million, and that kind of, Jonathan can explain it, that results in a deficit of about $3 million.
And again, these construction estimates are taken from most recent bids from JEA as well as the city of Hawthorne within the past 6 months. We also compared those to some previous numbers that we received from one of our continuing services contracts, an engineering company, Ayers & Associates, that works for us. And we feel good about the numbers. We feel they're on the higher end of the spectrum, which is good for a planning exercise. The second table on that sheet also takes into account additional revenue that we already have pledged towards this type of project. And you can then see what the surplus or deficit would be by TIF district. It basically gets the north and south TIF district to a reasonable amount. You know, a debt issuance using 30% of the annual allocation for a 20-year payback, you know, we've got a 19,000 surplus in south and a 19,000 deficit in north. That's a manageable number. We think we can move forward with that. The central, however, there's a shortfall of $2.01 million. So the next tables that you see after that, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, those are a proposed phasing plan. And we believe that is the only way to move forward and to strategically complete the replacement of the potable lines. As you've probably seen, the city and C.R.A. has success when they lay out a plan a couple of years in advance in leveraging additional financial resources. So we believe that if we put this plan in place and in motion, we can continue seeking funding, be it from the Water Management District, be it from DEP, be it from appropriation requests, and get that surplus or that deficit number down to a more manageable number for the central TIF. The phasing map, which is subject to change if given additional direction by the board, basically took into consideration the remaining service life of pipes as well as the quality of life. We wanted to impact the most number of residents with the first phases. And we wanted to get the mainline extension through the C.R.A. districts. It's important to get the mainline through the districts so the city can continue to leverage its resources to do potable replacement in areas outside of the TIF district like Palatka Heights around the railroad tracks and River Street. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I guess for information purposes, to everyone that's sitting out here, what's the life expectancy of the new water lines?
On a PVC line,
Yeah.
I've seen various reports serve anywhere from 40 to 60 years.
So, and so phase one is only encompasses areas that are within the active TIFs.
Phase one, as it's drawn out now, gets the main line from where it currently stops at 4th and Bronson down, and it actually isn't depicted. It's kind of hard to read here, I apologize. You see where phase one is on the north and the south, and there's a gap in between. That's where the city has already laid the line in preparation for this main line trunk. We already took it through to the redevelopment area, so that would just be connecting it from the north to the south and also accomplishing replacement of all the potable lines within the north and south TIF districts. So, TIF, not historic districts.
You're not taking it down 4th Street like we had talked about previously?
We had proposed that as a worst-case scenario if we only got the funding from the Water Management District. It's the shortest route. It's ideal for the city and the C.R.A. district as a whole if that main line actually skirts the perimeter and comes back down along 1st Street. It is no additional cost if you take the whole project into consideration. It just takes it from one street 3 or 4 blocks over.
So you're looking at moving it from the 4th to the riverfront, right?
Yes, sir. Let me just point to you where the existing line is already.
Thank you.
So on Reed Street, you have a good 10-inch concrete line. And the existing main line runs through here, and then there's another main line extension that runs down Laurel Street. You've got a good 10-inch right here at 4th and Bronson. And the idea is to take it, instead of down this street, which would traditionally have a 6-inch line, is to take it down and come back over to the perimeter where you have heavy use at the hotels and connect into the 10-inch on Reed, which is connected to a new 8-inch PVC behind the 100 block, which comes down to St. John's Avenue, out to Memorial Parkway, and down to where the Presbyterian Church is. And we have plans to extend it through the next phase of the waterfront improvements.
Don, I'm on the central,
Yes, sir.
and the central says future. And yet the central is bearing the brunt of the cost here. For the central district, what can I turn around and say, this is what we're receiving, guys? Besides the fact that we're putting the pipe through the central and paying for it so it can connect to the south. I mean, what is it that the central people will be receiving with each phase?
It's a very good question, sir. So the central district actually encompasses these 2 green areas right here. So there's 2 things that came into consideration when laying out this map. The first is the cost to do each phase, and it's a whole lot easier to lay pipe than what we call virgin ground or open parkway strip. So if you could imagine trying to run in this light blue section where it's sidewalks everywhere, it's going to be more costly. So we need more time to plan and get additional leveraging resources. But what you would be able to say is that these 2 green areas, here and here, that fall within the central, are possible under this scenario. They are phase 2 or the 4th box down, sir.
Possible to get cleaner water because the pipes are clean.
Yes, sir.
And those 2 districts that you're showing me for phase 2 are primarily residential, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And this is going under the sidewalks?
In these areas in the downtown core where you don't have a green parkway strip, yes, underneath the sidewalk. In the residential areas, our typical street section calls for the potable to be between the curb and the sidewalk, so it's easier for maintenance long term.
And I'm just going to ask this horrible question because this is the fear of all business. Construction time and the idea that I can't get to my I need to get to because you're under construction. Downtown has gone through that back in the 80s, and it put out numerous businesses because of the overruns. Are these different in any way? I mean, I'm seeing construction right around the bridge, probably our busiest funnel. Well, it is the busiest funnel in the county. How will that affect traffic and the flow of traffic?
We don't foresee having to interrupt traffic on Reed Street because the line on Reed Street is of good condition. It's something that we'll need to look at its remaining service life in the next 10 to 20 years. When it comes to doing construction within the downtown business core on St. John's Avenue, or even sections of Main Street or Reed Street, if we were considering Reed Street, we need more time to plan for that type of construction. The burden is on us to basically make sure that construction takes into consideration that we're not interrupting access to businesses and we don't put a perception out there that downtown is closed for businesses. That's why I'm saying that as a future phase in combination with we don't have the money identified for that. So it gives us more time to figure out how to deal with that proactively as we identify those funds. Those are very good concerns, and we don't like doing construction on St. John's Avenue because we never do it right, even when we do it right, if you know what I mean. So.
It's livelihoods.
Yep.
What's the purple line that's over in phase 3?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. Yes, ma'am. So, second to last box on your sheet, it's called FDOT phase fiscal year 18-19. You'll notice that we did have remaining TIP capital, if you do the other phases as they're laid out, of $131,000. You'll also notice that there's $440,000 in there as current project revenue. The FDOT at our request last year put some money aside to deal with what we call utility conflicts when they do the stormwater and road reconstruction project on 9th Street or State Road 20 from Reed to Osceola. Our estimates have the replacement of potable and the sanitary at $1.2 million. They will not do a betterment of our infrastructure. They will pay for the conflicts. So we need to be looking at identifying the balance of that cost if we want to overhaul our sanitary and potable infrastructure. But that purple section is the FDOT phase, and it is slated to begin construction in December of 2018.
That's a joke. It took them 5 years just to fix the drainage in front of them. So.
All I know now is they are spending money. So.
That drainage.
I know.